Also, the income has been good enough to support our lifestyle of, having a bit of travel. I'm not going to say we're going to make $1 million out of this. You never will, unless you're massive. But from a solo with one crew or one-man operation, it allowed us to have a very, very healthy income and a very good lifestyle.
So today on the Jim's Mowing podcast and Jim's Group podcast, I'm joined by Damian Bush. Now, Damian, you're from Jim's Mowing in Tasmania. You're a franchisee. Now you're also the franchisor support person in Tasmania for the Jim's Group, which is fantastic. So do you want to just start with first a bit about yourself and how long you've been involved with Jim's Mowing? And first of all, how you actually got involved with Jim's Mowing too?
Yeah, sure, Joel. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I got involved in 2017, I believe. But previous to that, I've had a various career, I guess. I'm a concrete finisher by trade. Grew up on a farm, got involved with hospitality at around 16, 17 when my parents bought a couple of pubs in country Tasmania. And then after that, travelled a bit, lived in New Zealand for a while, moved to the Gold Coast, done all the kids' stuff up there, and then moved back home and become a manager of a pub in Hobart, and then went on to be an owner in, I think we had about 12 pubs in a syndicate of owners. And and so after that, spent the next 11 years doing that. Basically, young family, not enough time, 100 hours a week at work. I guess like anyone else, I really wasn't enjoying it too much after that. The money was great, don't get me wrong. The money was fantastic. But then, quality of life wasn't there. Yeah, I asked a few of my mates, Jason Britton, he's no longer with Jim's. He went independent, had a word with him. He had a fantastic Jim's business in its own right, and spoke to him about it. And he said, yeah, go for it. You'd be good at it, And lo and behold, gave Tim Respondic, my previous franchisor, a call. Next thing you know, I'm in Melbourne doing a bit of training, come back and here's a trailer and here's a ute, and off I went. After that, spent the next, 6 years or so as a franchisee, 7 or 8 years as a franchisee. And now I've moved into the role of franchisor support, as you mentioned.
Big journey there. So let's unpack that a bit. So what type of farm did your parents have? There was a dairy farm, was it beef? Or?
No, it was sheep and barley wheat. And we had, one closer to Hobart, but then we had a finishing farm up at Waterhouse, which is on the far northeast coast, sorry.
Well, it's probably a good setting. It's almost a good way to grow up because you get that work ethic from day one, don't you? And obviously, there's no switching off when you're involved in a farm.
No, there was none at all. And funnily enough, not many kids wanted to come home and stay overnight at our farm because we were at work the next morning. So, but it did instill a very strong work ethic. I will give my parents that for sure.
So why did you choose then Jim's Mowing? So obviously you had really successful business, like running a big pub of syndicates. Obviously that's a lot involved with that. It's really high level sort of stuff and a lot of pressure and stress. So
very much.
How did you then, because it almost like, people's ego would get in the way. Say, I'm a run all these businesses and stuff like that, and then I'm going to go do gardening. Like it's sort of a big change. So was it just more for you, like you got to a point where you said, I've just had enough and I just want that lifestyle? Or how did you decide to come to the Jim's Mowing business as your...
Look, it was to get out of that hospitality career, if you will, because it was a career. I could still be there now. And, again, as I said, I had a fantastic salary and dividends from the business itself was very good. But there was no work-life balance whatsoever. It was all go, like you say, and it was very much numbers-driven business. So high volume, high return. But in that also, too, we used to deal with big name brands like Red Bull, Finlandia, Foster's, all the big beverage names that you come across. So when it comes to me looking at another career or another business, it had to be a well-known, recognised brand. Now, obviously, we've got Jim's, which I'm a part of, and you've got the others. There's VIP, Box has popped up down here recently, but back then it was Jim's or VIP. And the way I look at it from brand awareness, I would say Jim's, Coca-Cola, VIP, Pepsi. So the number one consumer is Coca-Cola, it comes straight to mind. So I had a brief look, and when I say a brief look, I'm talking a couple of minutes of VIP, but because I, open up your browser, Google is Jim's, that was, it was an easy choice for me.
So what was it like when you looked into the system? How much research did you do? Because we always tell people to do research. Was it watching videos or just reading the website, or went control A quick as possible, or you sort of knew what from...
A lot of it, with the research side of it, a lot of it was internet-based. Back then, 8 years ago, there probably wasn't the content out there that there is now, for sure. Yeah, exactly. So it was internet-based, word of mouth, but more so I did my research with friends that had Jim's Mowing franchises. And like at the time, there was two very good friends I played footy with back in the day that were running successful businesses. One, as I said, with Jason, he's moved on to his own business, but he specialised in irrigation and landscaping more so. I think it was Kevin Anders back in the day. He actually used to do our lawns for us. So we didn't have time to do it. I was in a pub 100 hours a week. So we had that. So that, I suppose it was just more the brand was around me constantly. But again, brand awareness. I'm not one of these brand snobs, but if you're going to have a home service provider, whether it be, plumbing, whether it be dog wash, whatever it may be, you want a trusted brand and you know that you're going to, hopefully going to get the service from that trusted brand.
Sam, and I love what the analogy you said between Pepsi and Coke. We'll have to clip that up and hopefully people they don't get annoyed. But I was going to say as well, how did you go physically? So obviously it's a while back again. How did you go with the transition from doing what you're doing to this? Do you remember what it was like? Do you want to just maybe tell people what it's like?
Oh, what it was like, Joel, was I was 25 kilos heavier than what I am now. I'm currently, I think, 75. I was 100 kilos. I look like a thumb with eyes on it. And so that first 6 months, I started in August. So, good time to start straight into the spring rush. That was smart. Anyway, so I was running around. I was doing 7 days a week, 10-hour days, coming home looking like I'd been at a army camp. It was absolutely shocking. I was asking myself, what have I done? And also to add to that as well, and it's one thing I try to talk to the new franchisees and that are coming on board down here in Tassie, is get your scheduling right. If there was a mistake to be made when I first started, I made it. Plain and simple. And that's also too where I approached Tim, I think it was in the second year, my franchiser, to say that I think there needs to be a little bit more training when the franchisee starts up. So I was his assistant, for lack of a better word, with new franchisees coming on board and also the vetting process before they actually signed up. And it was a good system we had. So they'd come with me for a couple of days, weeks, whatever it may be, to see if they really were, one, up to the job, but two, a fit for the Jim's brand. And that was quite successful. I think there was probably a dozen that we put through over that 4, 5, 6 years. But there was also probably a couple of dozen that we just said no because of that process, because we don't want to set anyone up for failure. But getting back to, myself, it was hard. It was very hard. And, but after a while, your body got into the routine and you lost weight. You got fitter. You ate healthier, drank less, all this sort of stuff. Just so as you know, you had to get up the next day. It's not like where you could go, oh, well, I'm going to have a few beers tonight. I'll start a bit later. It just does not work like that. You get up, you work, and don't get me wrong, there's been times when you've gone to work and you've sweated it out from the night before. We've all done it. But, feel outside, in the fresh air, not in nightclubs to 6 a.m. in the morning, more getting up in the morning and going to work. So, it's been a great transition, Joel.
Then you mentioned mistakes, which is great to talk about. Let's talk about some of the mistakes you made and what people who are new franchisees or just new in the industry coming in, what could you tell them maybe to avoid, and maybe what could they learn from some of your mistakes in the early days?
Oh, look, probably one of the biggest ones, and I still focus on it daily, weekly, but more so daily, is knowing your numbers to start with. It's all good and well to go out there and, do a dozen $100 lawnmowers, $1,200 a day, that's great. But in the meantime, you've spent 2 hours on the road driving from job to job to job to job. It's just, get your schedule down, get your, the buzzword on podcast, route density, down pat, and go suburb by suburb on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, go to that different suburb. Go to your furthest out job first and work your way back home. That's where I really made mistakes to start with. I had my leads on, taking on every bit of work I could find. It didn't matter what it was, all areas, as we all do when we first start. It's just normal. But I would be driving 25 minutes one way, 20 minutes to the next job, 20 minutes to the other job, coming back home, 12 hours a day, and I've gone, I've made bugger all money and I've been out all day and it's hot and, what am I doing? So that's when I reached out to Tim, my franchiser, at the time, and also the other franchisees that I got to know over the first couple of months, and basically said, what am I doing wrong? I'm working all these hours. I'm not making any money. We went through my client list of regulars because I bought a split, so I started with 40-odd. And in the first 4 months, I was up around 100 regulars. And that's me not knowing the back end of the business and just adding them on. With the help of a fellow franchisee, we went through that list and we picked out the ones that really weren't the right fit for the business, whether it be poor paying, bad yards, bad access, and in a very friendly way, let them know that we were downsizing. Feel free to find someone else, gyms, whatever. And I within a week, cut down to 70, 75 regulars, I think, which was manageable for me at the time. I was working solo. It was long days and long weeks, but it was manageable. And that next week, you were showing money, profit. Got my schedule down pat, got my right number of customers, and learnt very quickly the power of saying no. As in, if something didn't fit my business or me, I would either say no or I'd pass it on. Luckily enough, we have a good network down here to other franchisees that were more geared up, staffed up to take on that customer. We'd never flat out say, no, we don't want you, but we'll find someone to look after you. And that worked for me, and it still does to this day.
Is there anything else then in that first maybe month? So you mentioned the route optimization and learning to say no, which is a really good thing. It's obviously at the same when you come to train, we say you got to tip all areas and take everything from everywhere and answer down. But was there anything else in the early days as well, looking back, you would have done a bit differently?
There's probably many things, Joel, that I would have done a little bit differently. I think one thing that any small business, doesn't matter what it is, has is cash flow. It's really important to your business. I struggled with that to start with because I wanted the big and best of everything, whether it be equipment, whether it be vehicles, whether it be whatever it is. It's a trap I think a lot of people fall into. To do a gardening run, you need a mower, a good commercial mower. Then your backup mower can be something $400 from Bunnings. Again, a combi tool with the attachments that you need to do the job, and a blower, a weed spray pack. That's about it, and that's all you need. So I went out and bought two of everything, and literally my first purchase at the steel shop at Kingston, shout out to Rob and Karen down there, was $4,800 in gardening equipment. I honestly could set that up for half that, if not less now, if I started it all again. And I still practice that today. Like I recently bought a new vehicle. Well, I didn't buy a new vehicle. I got rid of my other Hilux. And instead of buying $90,000 worth of new vehicle, which it would have cost me, I bought a quality pre-owned Toyota Hilux and saved $40,000. Now, that $40,000 can be better invested in the business in other areas that will actually make money, because a vehicle just has to tow your trailer. And that's why I say to the new franchisees coming on board, unless you've got the work for big machinery, just don't go out and buy it, because it doesn't make any money if it's sitting there. So that was one.
It's a really good point, Damien. I hear that a few times as well. That when we go, the guy buys the brand new Ranger, actually like 70, 80 grand, and they buy the best thing. And yeah, you're right. You just need to look at it a bit differently. It's an appreciating asset. You don't want to spend all that money on that big thing, but they're excited. But it's a common thing that people do, unfortunately. Yeah. You get blinded by the lights a bit, Joe, especially with the money coming in, because as I think anyone will say and agree, with in gyms, any division for that matter, but mowing in particular, I've found, because obviously it's my experience, it is a very lucrative industry to be in, and it is, it's a cash business. It's a high returnable cash flow, and also too, you run at a pretty low expense until you come into the other problem I had, where I wasn't working on the back end hard enough and keeping on top of my numbers, and you get these tax bills. I probably should have listened to my wife on this and go, yep, you need to open up that other account, and every week, every bit of money comes in, you need to put 25% away. I'm looking at my bank account on one side going up and up and up. I'm like, how good is this? And then you pay your bills out, and then the ATO comes along and says, oh, excuse me, can I have this money? And, that's one thing I try to instill to anyone that will listen, like the newer guys in particular. Open that third bank account and don't touch it. It's not your money. And I found out that the hard way. So that's one piece of advice that I think is critical. In training, we have a lady called Nicole, and she talks exactly about this. And we try and harp on this, because you're exactly right. You don't want to get caught out from the ATO and all of a sudden you put yourself in trouble. But I was going to say as well, you've been in the business for a while now. Yep. What sort of services to you have been the most profitable? What would you suggest for someone? You've mentioned route optimization for profitability, but are you now at a stage where you know that the job, you will say no to certain jobs because they might not be as profitable for you, or how do you work that into your business?
Yeah, for sure. Speaking from my business in particular, we do a lot of, I suppose, contract work, if you like, especially, it's all year round down here, but especially coming into spring, summer, where we do a lot of block clearing, acreage mowing, and fire reduction hazard mowing. So we geared up with razorback mowers, forestry clearing, brush cutters, zero-turn mowers, whatnot. like that. So we do a lot of that work during those times. But other than that, I went down the track and targeted, if you will, sort of those top-end gardens, if you like. We have a contract with a property developer down here that we look after a dozen or so of their properties, and that is just regular 2 weeks garden maintenance. A little bit of lawn mowing, not so much. And then the other side of our business, we have a few residentials, probably 40 to 50 that we just mow fortnightly. We're a bit dry down here, probably push back to 3 or 4 weekly. But then we have our commercial properties that we do weekly or fortnightly, but that's about it. And so when you look at the more profitability, anything that's going to be regular of a commercial size, and it doesn't have to be commercial. When I say commercial size, I say ride-on work is very profitable, very, very profitable. You're sitting on a mower and you can do it by yourself. The top-end residential gardens, especially if they're a business, whether it be an Airbnb, whether it be a hotel, whether it be a McDonald's. A few of the boys down here look after the McDonald's sites, and it's very profitable, I believe, for them. So in our business, that is the jobs we target. We will certainly take the once-off cleanups. They're a great cash earner. And then if you turn it into a regular, all good and well. But if you can go to one site for a full day and cut down on expenses of travelling around, they are good earners. And if you've got your hourly rate right for you and your staff, you will make good money. But that's the key to it, quoting and pricing your job correctly. And you need, a lot of your times you might get a bit of pushback. I hear a few guys say that there's been price objections. The problem with that, I think, is a lot of people, and myself included in that, in the past, you haven't sold the value of what you're offering. So you can give someone a price, you can go down, hey, Miss Jones, we're going to clean up your garden bed for $100. Oh, that's a bit expensive. Yeah, it is. And then you don't get the job. But if you go, Mrs. Jones, we're going to prune those roses, we're going to weed out your garden bed, and we're going to lay some fresh mulch. It's going to look beautiful. You're going to enjoy your garden. How does that sound to you? She'll love it. And 99% of the time you're going to get the job. You just have to sell your value, not your cost or price for that matter.
Really good point. We have a thing on the internet with Matt Thorpe from training, and he says a similar thing, which is about dealing with price objections and stuff. And you've got to absolutely sell your value. You can't just throw a price out there and not go into detail about what you do. You're in sales effectively, aren't you? When you're in a Jim's franchise.
Oh, sales and customer service. Customer service more so than anything. If you can form a relationship from that first handshake when you meet the customer, or wave, hello, whatever it may be. If you can form trust, because they've rang gyms because they want quality service. We offer quality service, and we're certainly not the cheapest about. Everyone knows that. But if you can form that relationship of being friendly, personable, and get on, for lack of a better word, on the right side of that customer to start with, you're going to win the job. You really are. You've just got to sell yourself. Be neat, be tidy, be in uniform. And it comes in spades. It really does. Pardon the pun.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, out of the services you do, what do you particularly, is there any type of service you like doing the most? Is it the hedging, or do you want satisfaction out of
look,
ride-on? What do you like doing?
I love hedges. It is hard work. Hedges and ride-on work. But hedges, I do, it's a shameless plug, Joe. I do have a social media page, Jim's one, and Facebook and Instagram, and most of it's full of hedges that we've done. And it's creative work, those social media pages. I encourage everyone to get one. Get on board on that. But hedges.
You just go in that, it's creative work for you.
A lot. An awful lot of work. It's not. I post and throw a few things up every couple of days or whatnot. And I think I may have even spoken to you about this in the past. I thought, there's not many followers, but the followers don't really matter too much. It's the shares that you get from them. So like 4 of my friends have shared, one of our posts. So they've all got an average of 500 friends. Well, all of a sudden, 2,000 people in our local area in Tasmania have seen that. So it's quite powerful. And I'll get random DMs from people who say, "Hey, can you come and do a quote?" And I was only on a phone call to Matt down at Kingston, the franchisee down there, and had I think a 35-minute conversation about setting him up with a social media page. So I'm going to meet up with him next Friday, and we're going to go through that for it. I'm not saying I'm a social media guru.
No, it's good. I just want to try and make this clear for people. This is fantastic. That's why you see me smiling, because I think it's great. So I tell everyone. But the value, let's say the amount of effort you put into just doing those posts compared to the dollar value you've got out of it, would you say it's worth it?
I'd say in the last 6 months, it's been worth the best part of 10 grand.
Really? And how much time do you reckon you put in to generate that 10 grand just from the social media post?
Hey, 5 minutes on the couch while I'm watching TV, mate. And there's no lead fees with it either.
A lot of franchisors won't like that, but we want to keep you busy. But that's the point of it, right? And this is the thing we try and teach in training. Obviously, back when you did training, you didn't have this component, but we talk about it now.
No, it wasn't. No.
And I'm going to and the reason why I asked that question, I'm probably going to clip this up and maybe play it during our franchisee training, because it generates, it's so many, the way it's going now, like obviously Google's Google, it's a big behemoth, it's the big brand, but they're slowly declining in terms of Google search for what people are looking for with services. They prefer not to speak to someone sometimes. They just want to message the business owner's page or whatever and give the local fella a crack if they see their post online. And it's great to hear you got around 10 grand's worth of work from 5 minutes worth of self-marketing online.
It's funny, the reach of it as well, Joel. Like, I'm podcast fanatic. I live on every day. It's just in the ears every day. And I listen to a few different platforms and comment on a bit of stuff. And I'm not sure, you may be familiar with Brian Fullerton from Brian's Lawn Maintenance in America. He's got a podcast called Fullerton Unfiltered. So he liked one of my photos. We had a bit of interaction. He's liked that, followed my page, and I'm actually doing an interview with him on Sunday night, 8 a.m. their time, so 10 p.m. our time. But so that's just through social media. Not that I'm going to get any work in America. He's in Michigan, but it's just it's one of those things where I listen to all his podcasts. I may have commented on something on his podcast or on his Instagram page, and next thing he's reached out and would love to have someone on from Australia. He's researched the Jim's brand and how it works and just wants to do an interview. Yeah, so the reach of social media, I guess.
It's very powerful, and we get Jim on different podcasts every week. But the thing now with any business, whether it be a plumbing business or a painting business or whatever, you've got to almost be a little mini media company yourself. You've got to be on that. You've got to be in socials. You can't just exist. If you can get all your jobs by referral, that's fine. But it's a very competitive market, and every other business is doing it. And it's great to hear you actually got business outcome from doing your posts, because everyone always goes to me in training, well, how much leads or how much work am I going to get from doing this stuff? And it's always hard to say, but it's great to hear a 5-minute posting effort on your behalf has generated around 10 grand's worth of work, which is fantastic.
Well, I think when it comes down to marketing, Joel, is that if you're doing quality work, why don't you show people?
Absolutely. 100%.
You might get one job out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, that might also sound egotistical. Well,
no.
It's your own little world on your Facebook page.
The thing Australians don't do really well compared to Americans. Americans are really good at self-promotion.
Oh,
they're not braggadocious, but they'll promote themselves. They get promotion, whereas with Australians, I don't want to show off and they want to be a bit humble and stuff like that. But there's nothing wrong with showing a great quality hedge or a great quality lawn or landscape or review from a client, these sorts of things.
Oh, I think especially the reviews from clients, I think that really does speak volumes. That it's all good and well for myself to post a thing and say, hey, the client really, really loved this. But if you can actually post a screenshot of a message from them to say, hey, you did a really good job of this, that's worth 10 times that photo of their hedge, or whether it be their garden bed or whether it be whatever.
And when someone's scrolling through the feed, it does stand out as a bit more of a, they'll stop a bit more to actually look at what it is as opposed to the typical sort of thing.
Exactly right, Joel.
No, it's good. I'm glad to hear you say that, and we'll probably clip that up and show it to you franchisee in training, because I get that question a bit about why should we do it. I was going to say as well, with your business, do you have any employees at the moment? Is it just you? Or
Yeah. I have a full-time employee. Well, actually, I'll go back. Brian's been with me full-time for 4 years, I think now. Right. And before that, we had another full-time employee, and the casual. So there's 4 of us all up. The casual was just basically on call, and still is on call. And we use when we get bigger jobs. But Brian, he's recently branched out on his own to start his own business, and he's got a few clients through business.
Right.
Yeah, he went down track and went down that track, but he subcontracts to me 3-4 days a week, whatever it may be. And also, I trust him. He does quality work, so it enables me to sit here on a Friday morning and do a chat with you, and he can be out working.
And how's the lifestyle been for you as well? Obviously, you mentioned 100 hours a week, but are your kids a bit older now? You got older kids now?
So Seb, he's 15, and Joey, my youngest one's 12, going on 13 next month.
Yeah.
Look, the lifestyle we had before, and my wife will attest to, she always used to say it, I'm basically a single mum. And and I'd be like, hey, look at all the money we're making, So I think, but then after getting out of that lifestyle and into this, after 3 months, I can honestly say I apologise to it. I said you were a single mum. So in that time, from being with Jim's now, I coach football with my youngest one. We both my boys play hockey, so we manage one of their hockey teams. My wife obviously does more than that than me, but we manage that as a team. We travel around Australia to various locations because they've been both privileged enough to play for Tasmania with hockey. And, on Monday, my youngest one's got a selection game for Future Devils program for AFL footy. On Monday, I'll just go to it and go back to work. So the lifestyle, and also the income has been, good enough to support our lifestyle of, having a bit of travel. I'm not going to say we're going to make $1 million out of this. You never will, unless you're massive. But from a solo with one crew or one man operation, it's allowed us to have a very, very healthy income and a very good lifestyle.
Mentally, how have you found it as well? Because that's a really important thing for people now.
I was going to say that, Joel, or we're going to bring that up. Yeah, look, it's one thing, and I say it to any of the new franchisees, even the existing ones for that matter, it is a very challenging mentally, especially when you first start to get your head around it. We went from, I'll use myself as an example, obviously, went from a very healthy income to that first year, first 6 months, I suppose, or so, till I got into the groove of things. It was a struggle at times. It really was. One, I was unfit. Which didn't help with the mental side of things. But I was trying to do everything at once by myself, no staff, too busy, and it really did weigh down on me. But once I got my systems in place and got my customers in place and got my schedule done, and not just my schedule for work, my schedule for what I do day to day, hour to hour, whatever it may be. I'm a big pen and paper guy. I write everything down. I print everything off Jim's jobs for you, what you're going to do from day to day. But I have notes upon notes upon notes that I refer to, and that helps me mentally to get on top of things. And once I did that, like Jim's has great systems in place. You get a lead, you ring the customer, you meet the customer, you do the job, you get paid. It's a fantastic system. They generate work for you. You guys do the advertising on that. But you still need systems in place within your own business. If you haven't got systems, you will struggle. And I struggled like that to start with. But so once I got those systems in place, like the tax thing, yes, every week we've got to pay tax. Yep, that's one less thing to worry about, because when you get that VAS bill, there's the money. Great. You've already got it. So that's one system. But just your systems to getting up in the morning, right, what do you need to do with your trailer? What do you need to load up? Do you need to do it the night before? And just make a list and tick it off. And that improved my mental health well-being immensely. But it's something you still have to work on, daily, weekly. And that's me from a personal point of view. There might be other people out there that just, yep, no worries, I'm fine with it. But from a personal point of view and your mental health, it's got to be paramount, Yeah. Like your body will get you through, but your mind, you need to, work it as much as you do any other muscle.
Yeah, you always fall to the level of your systems.
That answers your question.
No, it's good, but you always fall to the levels of your systems. And if you're coming into gyms and you're not organised, and it's something that's new to you, you've got to, it is worth investing some time to be organised. And if you've got a partner who's more organised, they can help you or whatever, but it's definitely something where your franchisor as well, or other franchisees can definitely help you. Because if you're not organised, when you get a bit stressed and stuff, you can just, it can get very hard.
Well, you start missing things, Joel. Yeah, and that when I say missing things, I mean you miss showing up to a customer that could be worth, $5,000 a year to you. That's your insurances for your house, contents, car, everything paid for, and you've missed them, and they get jack of that and say, well, I don't need you anymore. Well, you haven't lost $100 customer, you've lost a $5,000 customer. You got to look at what they're worth, return on investment of getting that customer over the course of a year, that you've lost. So if you're missing things like that, you just need to be more or less automised in that regard. So what you need to do, I personally use a Sunday morning. I should say the other way. On a Friday, I'm generally off the tools now because I'm doing the franchiser support role. These days I'm actually about to head off, I think at 1 o'clock, and meet a prospective franchisee from down the Huon Valley, and fill them out in that regard. But if your systems aren't in place, you're sort of setting yourself up a little bit for failure. I wouldn't say failure, it's probably a harsh word, but you're setting yourself up not to be in a good spot.
Exactly, and the systems there will help you when you do, maybe if you're a bit flat or whatever, you will have that, in place to keep you in check. But let's talk about real quick about your systems, because this is a good point. You mentioned you're pen and paper man, so you have the physical, which is great, which a lot of people still use. Is there anything, and you said on a Sunday you'd get yourself organised, or, so was that for you? Sunday I get myself organised, I plan out my week written, every day is literally timed, and that's how you do it? Is there anything else you do with that, or?
Yeah, so Sunday's like office day. If you're, well, it's not an office day. It's literally now an hour of a morning, and that's it. All the systems are in place in the gym, in Jim's job. So you just spit out like a printout of what you're going to do for the week. You're obviously going to change a few things here and there, but it's generally in place of what you're going to do. So with my systems, then I'll go, yep. So on the Monday, we've got 3 ride-on jobs, hedge prune, whatnot. So we're going to need a ride-on mower on Sunday night. We'll load up the ride-ons, and we'll load up whatever size ladder we need. So come 7 o'clock Monday morning, we can just drive out the driveway. You're not running around of a Monday morning going, oh, God, we need this, we need that, we need that. It's already there and done. Come home Monday, if you haven't sent off your invoices through the app, send you, I use Xero for a bit of stuff and whatnot. Do that, but then have a look at your schedule that you've already printed out for the week and go, okay, we don't need the ride-ons, we'll rip them off. Oh, but we do need to scarify a lawn. I've never scarified a lawn in my life. It just popped in my head. Whatever tools and that you need might be a different uniform. Like a lot of our commercial clients, that we have to wear orange high vis. So it might be that, yep, you need to get that ready. Otherwise, you're going to drive 20 minutes and go, I've got to drive back home to get that orange uniform. So stuff like that. So that's the systems I have in place. But also, too, I have to have the systems in place for my personal life, whereas I have to get kids to sport every day of the week. And when Shani, my wife, hears this, she'll say, no, I do that. But no, I do a bit of it. And then I coach football two days a week, and we play footy on a Sunday afternoon. So all those things in place, if it's not scheduled out and in black and white, for me personally, some people might have it on a tablet, they might have it on their laptop, whatever it may be. But pen and paper on me to say, righto, 7 Joey have to be at hockey, 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, I know I'm going to be there. So that way I can schedule my work day around that. And if we've got to miss a customer or push them back, I'm just straight up front and honest with them. So I'm sorry, if I get my kids to hockey, can we do it tomorrow? I don't think anyone's ever said no. No, don't bugger your kids, you do my lawn. So
maybe in Melbourne they might do that. I don't think the friendly people in Tasmania will do that.
It's pretty laid back down here, Joe.
No, it's a great place. I was going to say with your equipment then. So what are your equipment philosophies when you talk to new franchisees? What do you recommend then? You said some stuff at the start, which is great around not going too overboard on purchase equipment and getting excited. So what do you sort of recommend yourself from a brand perspective, maintenance schedules, these sorts of things?
Yeah, okay. So brand perspective, I run mass sport mowers, contractor mowers, just because I've always used them. I know a lot of the guys use Hondas, and they're a great machine. And I've used them before, but I just run mass sports because I started with that, and now I've probably got enough sitting in the storage shed that I can pull parts off them that I need them. So I've just stuck with them. With the ride-ons, use Toro ride-ons because they're a simple brand. There's not too many moving parts. It's sit down, move your arms forward, and away you go. We do have a more complex machines, Razorback mowers. They're all-terrain mowers, four-wheel drive, diff locks, roll cages.
Roll cages? Wow.
Yeah, it's got a roll cage on and a seat belt. They'll cut to 35 degrees angles. We use them for fire reduction work and really rough terrain. Like I said, they're all-wheel drive, 25 horsepower engines, real low centre of gravity. It's like sitting on a go-kart with a roll cage on it. Has a 39-inch steel cutting bar with swing-back hooks underneath it. So I'll cut through a 3-inch sapling. Yeah, so that's what we use those for. Again, very select machine. It's not one you'd go, I might buy one of those and try and get work. We had a contract in place before we went in because they're best part $20,000 just for that mower without the roll cage and all that sort of stuff on it. So anyway, getting back to it. I use all steel power equipment. So combi tools, blowers, that sort of thing. Maintenance schedule, I try to do as much as I possibly can on servicing to save money. And it took me a fair while to get my head around that. But I ended up, the easiest way, I graduated from the YouTube university, and everything's out there if you need it. And if not, ask your franchisor, ask your fellow franchisees, because they'll show you. Even I have a great relationship with our steel shop dealer, and a couple of things I didn't know how to do. So I actually took the machine in there and said, right, can you show me how to do this? Yes, I've spent a lot of money with them. They had no problem in the world of saying. But I don't think too many places would be objective to it if you approached it the right way to find out how to basically service and change blades on a mower. Because that's all, they're just a small engine. If you keep them clean, keep everything changed in it, oil fresh, filters clean, blades changed, they'll last for a fair while.
Can you talk to us about the fire reduction service? Because obviously that's becoming more and more, especially up Brown where you are, obviously up in northern Queensland and stuff like that. Fire reduction when things get a bit drier. So do you want to talk about that service? What things customers should be aware of, and what can you do for them?
Yeah, look, it is very prevalent down here in, I'm in Hobart, or just outside of Hobart, but anywhere around Hobart is, anyone familiar with it, it is like a big country town, really. It's surrounded by bushland, and people tend to build right in the middle of it. We often get a call, and we do promote it, that we do fire reduction through social media. Basically, people get to the stage that they'll clear areas in rural or semi-rural areas around their house. And they'll, give it, say, 1 acre around the house. But then they won't give too much thought until spring or summer, or to when it's dry, or to when there's a bushfire around the corner from them, that they have to get it done. And we, over the years, have picked up a fair bit of work with fire in these areas. And once they see, say, a razorback mower or, a decent-sized zero-turn cutting down these paddocks and, brush cutting gear and whatnot, it's a flow-on effect to the neighbouring properties generally that they want work done. I actually did do a lot of work for Tasrail, so our rail company down here. We used to clear all their railway lines from, I think it was a 25-kilometre stretch from Granton, which is near the railway station, into the centre of Hobart. So we did that for about 4 years. And then that led to further work up north. So, that's sort of the fire reduction thing. We do a lot of work with quarries and concrete plants that are around there that are surrounded, because they're industrial sites, they're surrounded by long grass and, bushland. So we come in, every quarter and do a fire reduction run around those properties. But there's also, too, just the, people that, their yards have got out of, hand for them, and they're worried about bushfire reduction. So we just come in and, we just, smack into it, really.
Yeah, it's something we need to promote more, because it's something that our guys can obviously do, and girls, and it's big. Not just in Tassie or Hobart. It's everywhere now in Australia. There's so much bush, and people love to have that big block, and they're surrounded by scrub and stuff, and they don't take.
Oh yeah, but also too, Joel. And as much as I'm certainly, not one way or the other, but the seasons are changing.
Yeah,
the landscape is getting drier, and we're getting when we do get a dump of rain, it's getting hotter. So grass grows quicker, but then dries off and causes, whichever way you want to look at climate, it is happening, and it's probably only going to get worse. And that also leads to, your upselling as well with gutter clearing. That's a big thing for us, because I'm in a semi-rural area, I guess, a lot of our customers, and gutter clearing, especially coming this time of year, we've got autumn, come spring, they're full. It's a really good upsell for any franchisee that has a regular mow. It's, and it's also, we also install, or have installed a lot of gutter guard. So the leaves, embers in particular, won't get into gutters. So we put a metal basically guard across it, just screwed into the roof. Very, very, very profitable in doing that service if you're able to do it. But it's also peace of mind for the customer, because most of it's ember guard, so embers won't get in underneath the roof once it's installed. So it's a really good selling point.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and really good service that people should look at doing as well. I was going to say with Hobart, so when someone looks at becoming a franchisee, you're going to meet the prospect today. What sort of people do you want to join Jim's Mowing? So who should they be? Are they someone who's just got a good work ethic, good communication? What are the things that they should be honest with themselves maybe about, do they have or do they don't have? And who do you think is the ideal sort of person for it?
I think a lot of it comes down to how accountable you are. Yeah, not just not in all aspects really. Accountable to yourself, accountable to your customers, accountable to the brand, and what you looks. I'm going to be harsh how I say this, Joel, but what your life looks like outside of work or business. Yeah, a strong work ethic. Obviously, you need a strong work ethic. You need great customer service skills, but a positive attitude, and again, being accountable. I don't think those things can really be taught. It has to be in you to start with. I've been lucky, a lot of the folks and franchisees say I don't shut up, and I don't. But I've had a long customer service background dealing, with people day to day. So I sort of fit into that quite easily in that role. Whereas where I had to get, my head around was the physicality of it. I know I could do the job. I'm a very positive, upbeat person. I knew I could get the job done, but it was the physicality side of it. Whereas we could have someone very, very physical, but, like if the world hates them and all that sort of thing, they're not going to fit the brand, because ultimately we still are representing a brand that creates us a lot of money. And if you don't fit into that mold, if you like, I don't think you're going to be a good fit for the brand. I'll say, look, maybe you need to work on this, or maybe you need to work on that, or maybe you need to look at something else where you're not going to be dealing with customers. And that's harsh, I know, but we've still got to protect the brand. And we've got to protect the other franchisees that have existing businesses, because we all get tarred by the same brush. If the cleaners get a bad name down here, I've had people come up to me and say, geez, I had Jim's Cleaners and they did a really bad job. And I'm like, yeah, they're blue, we're green. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Anyway, so if someone is not representing the brand, it's affecting the other 49 franchisees in the state.
That's that, and that's why we're so hard. Well, Jim's so hard in his ethos session, and it's true. You've had bad experience with Jim's Mowing or Jim's Antennas or whatever. It just puts a bad taste in the group and erects it for everyone. So that's why we're so... I know franchisees might get annoyed with it sometimes, but Jim is so strict on customer service because he understands that more than anyone. And a lot of the time franchisees will go, you should be on my side, Jim. But he's like, I've got to protect the brand and the livelihood of the other 5,000 franchisees, but I've got to protect. And it can annoy people, but it's there for the good of everyone. It's great.
Look, and I say that to anyone signing up with gyms, and they do certainly hear it, I guess. With Jim, I always say to him, he's point blank, and I learnt that myself when coming into this role. Because I hadn't actually had too much to do with Jim over time, because I have a franchisor.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. But, and I didn't, now I know Jim. As in how he works. The same with Rocky. It's point blank. It's email and it's point blank. I sent him, honestly, Joel, I sent him this email that it was like War and Peace. It was like Catcher in Rye quality. You could put it in the AI. They would have gave me a 10 out of 10 for it. I sent it off to Jim and it come back, thanks, Damian.
It's very common.
So now it's just like, hi, Jim, how about this?
Yeah, exactly. Keep it to one sentence or two sentences and ask what you want. Don't write one of these. I've seen that a few times. Yeah.
But again, what reason I say that is, he is point blank and he is brutal at times, but also too, it's the same with us. We protect our business. That's his business he's protecting through us. So there's no, yes, I tell that to the franchisees that if he's not happy with it, you fix it. You do a refund, you do whatever. It doesn't matter. You just make that customer happy one way or the other. Otherwise, you have to deal with Jim.
There's a YouTube video online on how Jim deals with complaints. So any franchisee or anyone in general can type in Jim Penman complaints or whatever, and there's a video online in his day in life, and it shows you how he deals with them. But Jim basically, he'll read one email once, and then he doesn't just keep it there like I do and like everyone else does. He will either forward it or he'll just file it. So read it once, reply, then they're gone. So don't write in big essays and your hard inside again. The first sentence or the two sentences, just ask for what you want, and that's the best way to go as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Very common, because there's so many things as people realise. It's not just Jim's group he runs his bio history, the research. There's all these things he gets all day.
Yep.
You can imagine the stuff, because Jim puts his email online on our website. You can imagine the stuff every day with people coming through. So you got to have that brutal efficiency, because if you didn't, I like to write a long email myself, and it just would not be doable.
I don't know.
No, not the nice and short and sweet. And I was going to say as well, with Hobart, Damian, I've been to Hobart recently. It's a beautiful place. We went for a couple of days. What are some recommendations for people from Melbourne or from other states coming to Hobart? Where should they go? Because everyone obviously sees Mona and all that sort of stuff and does that. But what are some maybe secret places, or what are some lesser known places they should go?
Oh, look, there's it's one of the most photographed places going about, and that's Bruny Island.
Yeah, been there. It's good.
Islands, split in the walkway down.
Yeah.
Before you get to Bruny Island, there's Woodbridge, across to the Huon. Like Huon's pretty well touristified, but all these little towns in between, like Jeeveston, they got the number one sushi joint in Australia. It was voted, I think, with Gourmet Track at one stage to have a look at. Everyone says the West Coast, but take your time going through it. It's the Tassie's promoting their tourism so well these days. It used to be a donut tour. Come to Tassie, spend 3 days, do a donut, and off you go. But these days, all these little areas have popped up, especially farm stays, because, our poor old farmers, they don't make enough money and they don't get enough money from suppliers and that sort of thing. So a lot of them gone down the track of whether it be vineyards, celladors or farm stays. There's Coringa, which is up the Derwent Valley out of New Norfolk, which is a farm stay, really great spot. But it's Wineglass Bay, again, it's really, really tourist type stuff. But just all the little towns just off the beaten track. As like if you're in your mountain biking, we're becoming, I think, the mountain bike capital of the world. At the moment, you got Derby and got Medina, which is going gangbusters if you're into that sort of thing, which is ones that, down south, on the way to the southwest, if you will, and the other one's on the far northeast coast. So if you're going to do a trip like that, and it's from what I've seen the Medina one. I haven't been to the Derby one. It's set up for all age groups. So if you're bringing the kids and you want to do something, there's plenty to do for the adults, So, but other than that, mate, it's one of those ones where park yourself in Hobart. Like you say, you got Mona and you've got, your day trips around Hobart, but grab yourself a hire car and just go for a drive and explore. You've got, Port Arthur, hour and a half away. So that's a huge tourist thing, obviously. Jump on a Pennicott Wilderness Tour thing and you'll go down around Bruni, show you all that sort of stuff. That's all on boats. But yeah, so there's plenty to do. It's just one of those ones where, take a bit of time. If you think it's going to take a week, it's going to take 2. Just to have a bit of explore.
So in Bruni Island, and there was a place in there called Adventure Bay, which is a really small joint, and I couldn't believe how isolated it wasn't isolated, but like the beach was no one there, white sand, you had wallabies everywhere, and there was these few houses. Think, geez, if you just want to get away from everything, that'd be perfect spot was around there. It was a really nice place.
It's funny you say that, Brian. We're in school holidays down here at the moment. So Brian, like it works for me, he's actually taking his family down to Bruni Island today.
Oh, right. Beautiful place. And you obviously hear about these joints and you see them online, but yeah, when you get there, you just realise how nice it is. And we actually saw Jim's fencing franchisee, funny enough, on Bruni Island doing a fence there, which was good to see. But beautiful place. And I think if anyone wants to see change from Melbourne to go down to Hobart and Tassie, it's a great place to go.
And that's I guess through COVID and then out of COVID over the last couple of years, that's really exploded from, I guess, like you say, tree and sea change from Melbourne and Sydney. People have come down here in droves. And I was talking to a lady last night, actually, that they've relocated from Sydney to where have they moved? Cygnet, and they're moving further down to a place called Pirates Bay. It's literally an hour and a half away from Hobart, but they travel daily because it's not that far. I'm like, what?
Yeah, anyway. Like we used to. Yeah. But what wouldn't you? You sell your house, get all that money, which from your inflated house price, and you're going to have a house paid off, and then you've got a bit of cash in the bank, a bit of security.
Worst part about it at the moment, Joel, the house prices down here aren't that cheap anymore. We're just we're looking just to buy a bigger property at the moment. I'm like, oh, righto. Anyway,
has it gone up a bit? Has it? There used to be before COVID, it was pretty reasonable, and obviously before
COVID, it was very reasonably priced. Yeah. You can have a look at it at a property that, let's go 10 years ago, which isn't that long really in property cycles. It's meant to double every 10 years or 12 years or whatever it may be. A property we had was $300,000 that we bought. Valuation on that same property is $900,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something with a bit of acreage around it and a few decent sized sheds and room for the chooks and the galahs and the dogs and cats and that, you're in Sydney, Melbourne prices.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, hey, it is what it is, and I don't think it'll probably come down anytime soon.
Well, it's a great place. Like I remember we stayed right at I think we stayed in the Mowing Peak there, just right in the middle. But like you just walk down to the harbour there, obviously the market's there, and then not too long you're out to Mount Wellington and stuff. And if you want to go out to Bruni Island, that drive out there where you go past what's that town? It starts with S. Snub. Love that name. So you got, but just like the greenery and stuff, it's just the amount of gardens that you could work on if you did the amount of gardening work that you guys could do. They're just working some lovely properties. Everyone would have pretty much a lovely property land. So
the prospect that I spoke about earlier on, where you just described, that's where he lives.
Oh, it's a beautiful, great place.
And he's relocated from Sydney.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, so he's I'm not sure how strong a lead he is, but like obviously I'm going to go down the seam, see what he's all about. So, but he's him and his family bought a older style house. This is what I've got from him in the phone conversations I've had over the last few days. Bought an older style house that's renovating, and he saw literally there's no mowing contractors apart from chucking a truck around the corner doing the old girls' lawns around the place. So he's like, that's why he's looking at starting a vacant territory.
Hopefully he does, because there's a lot of beautiful places around there for him to do it, and a lot of properties for him to look after.
Exactly, especially in those areas, right on work, good money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way you go.
100%.
And you can do a solo operator.
Well, Damian, thank you very much for joining us today. We've gone for an hour.
It's been a pleasure.
Sure, we could go for a lot more. But thank you for coming on, and it's great to have someone from Tasmania. I don't know if we've had anyone from Tasmania yet. We probably have after the look, but probably be the first or the second Tasmanian based from New Zealand. So,
I haven't seen anyone from Tassie on. So.
Well, I need to get into Jason Langridge is the other one I've got to get onto. So
word. Jason's actually who I bought my split off.
Oh, I've got to get onto him because Jim flicked me an email with him and they had a chat, and he's doing really well. So I've got to get onto him and have him on.
Going great guns, yeah.
Cool. So maybe email him and say Joel's going to message him to come on, but I'm going to reach out to him and get him on. But thank you very much, Damian, for joining us today. It's really good to hear you enjoying it. You've been doing really successful. You've been a great support to the franchisees down there, and hopefully everything goes well moving forward. And you're nearly at your 10 years, so maybe we'll check back in a year or two and see how you're going. And good luck with your podcast on Sunday in America. It's going to be Jim's Mowing franchisee on the American podcast. It's fantastic. So it's good to see more franchisees doing that sort of stuff. So it's great.
No worries.
So good luck with it. Thanks, mate. Thank you for listening to the episode of the More Than Just Mowing podcast by Jim's Mowing. If you do need help with your local gardening expert, please give us a call on 131 546 for Australia, 0800 454 654 for New Zealand, or head to jimsmowing.com.au or jimsmowing.co.nz. If you liked what you heard, please make sure you leave us a review as well, wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.